What's going on, film fam? It's your guy, Rod the Right One, with another episode of Screenwriters Monday. So on today's episode, we're actually going to be doing our deep dive into the terminology that we learned a couple episodes ago. So if you haven't watched that episode, suggest you go back, take a look at that one. All right, watch it. Seen it? You good? Okay, perfect. So now that you watched that, come back here. And today what we're gonna do is go deep into scene headers and transitions. How to use them, which ones to use, what's the proper way to kind of format everything, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna do things a little bit differently than I normally do. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys some examples of how things work and everything else. So grab your notebook, put your headphones in, give me your undivided attention for the next few minutes, and I will show you guys the way. Run it. Okay, so today we're going to be going over scene headers and transitions. So starting with scene headers, they're broken down into three separate things. So the first one is going to be, or the first part of it, I should say, is going to be either it's inside or outside. It's internal, external, right? The next part is going to be the location. So that's Rodney's office, Rodney's house, so on and so forth. The last part of it is going to be the time. So if there's a specific time you need, day, night, 6 o'clock, PM, 6 AM, whatever it is, if you need that narration or just to kind of put us in a certain place at a specific time, that's whenever you want to put that there. So let's break it down even further. So going into the beginning, so let's talk about internal and external. So internal is pretty obvious. You're inside. So like, as you can see right now, I'm inside the Rodney Simmons YouTube studio, and we are indoors, right? So internal, Rodney's studio, whatever the case may be. But external, it's a little different. Let me show you. This is external, it means outside. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay, so you learn what internal is, you learn what external is. Now, what if you need both? So what if you have a scene where you have a guy outside, and then we're gonna follow him inside, right? Like so. And what if we have a scene where we have a guy inside, but the camera's gonna actually follow him back outside? That's when internal, external works, baby. Let's explain. There's also internal, external, or external, internal, like I showed you. So with that, it's a little bit different. So those clips or something of like that nature is gonna be a situation where if you're inside of a car, let's say, because technically the camera's gonna be outside showing the car, you know, driving down the road, whatever the case may be. But then whenever the camera zooms in or goes into the car, that's where the internal part goes. So that's why they have both. So it's the internal, external. You'll see like, you know, Matt's car driving. And the reason why you'll see it like that is because, like I said, we're inside a car, but we're also outside on a road or wherever the guy's driving to. So, and then the reverse of that is gonna be external, internal, is if you have someone, let's say you're outside, they're knocking on the door, and then there's a continuous shot where you see them walking inside the house. So I know a show like The Vampire Diary does something like that, where they'll start with the character, you know, outside with the door open, and then they'll have them come in. So generally a scene like that is gonna be external, internal, because now the camera's following them from outside to inside. So you just wanna specify that, okay? So the next part after that is gonna be the location. So this part I'm not gonna go into too crazily just because it's pretty self-explanatory. So if wherever the location of the scene is gonna be, so if you're at someone's house, if you're in a lobby, if you're in a parking lot, you're at a baseball game, whatever the location is, that's where you're gonna put there. So it's gonna be internal, Rodney's office. Now, the only thing that's a little bit different is if you're gonna be shooting multiple scenes in like one specific location. So like a house, for instance. So if I'm gonna write up Rodney's house. Okay, so Rodney's house, and then at first we're in the living room, and then we're gonna go to the bedroom, and then we're going to the kitchen, or whatever order. That's the only time where you're gonna put it a dash in between one part of the location to the next. So it'll look like internal, Rodney's house dash bedroom. All right, and it's that simple. So that we're not going to dwell on. I know I talked about that a little bit on the other terms, so we're not going to go crazy about that. I guess, and then the last part of it is time. Let's take a look at that. All right, so the last part of your scene header is going to be your time. So now this isn't one that's super important or even necessary always, but you want to make sure that if you have a situation where the character is going to be doing something at a specific time, or it has to be at night or it has to be during the day, that's when you want to make sure that you are specifying that. So all you have to do is once you get to the last part of your scene after your location, put another dash there, and then you can put day, like it is now, or night. That's pretty much the basis of a scene header. Those are like the three things that you want to look out for when you, just to make sure that you're properly adding and putting your scene directly where it needs to be. Those are the things that you want to look out for. So location, inside or outside, the actual location itself, whatever fancy name you want to come up with, and day and time. So now, like I said, the day and time is not always necessary. If you don't want to specify or it's just not really needed to be specified, you don't have to put anything there. And then you can figure it out as it goes. If you got time to shoot the day, you shoot the day. If you have time to shoot at night, you shoot at night. But those are the main three, all right? So next, we're going to talk about transitions. So transitions are used, or not always used or necessary. So they're really not necessary in your writing as much. They're more of an editing thing. So sometimes if you want to specify something like I was saying, and you want to go from one shot to black or however you want to do it, yeah, the transition is going to be necessary for that, because it's a way for that everyone, the director, everyone knows exactly what's happening, and an easy way to navigate that scene, you know, as we're shooting it or whatever the case may be. So of course, when it comes to certain things like that, you definitely want to have the fade outs, the fade ins, but you don't always need them. And the biggest thing is figuring out when you should fade and when you should cut. So I'm actually going to show you an easy way to figure out when you should fade and when you should cut. So generally cuts are going to be quick movements between one scene to the next. It's pretty simple. Fade is kind of that long drawn out where the screen goes black and then it fades back in and comes back to the next scene, which is fine. And it works perfectly for when you have that dramatic moment. But if you're in the middle of an action scene, you don't want to be fading. Right? You just don't want to be fading because it slows down the pace, and you don't want the pacing to slow down in an action film at all. So I was thankful enough to reach out to one of my great friends, amazing actor, Oscar level stuff, who actually was able to shoot a scene so I can show you the difference between a fade and a cut in the middle of the scene. Now there's a million different types of cuts, but unless you plan on doing editing, don't even worry about it. Don't even get into it right now. Just we're worrying about screenplays. So first, I'm going to show you the scene, how it will look with a cut when it's done properly. And then I'll show you what it looks like with a fade and why we wouldn't want to use a fade in the middle of an action sequence, right? Without further ado, here is this amazing actor putting on this amazing show for you guys. I'm blessed to have this person. Just watch. Yo, I don't know what's going on, man. Everything blowing up, there's legs everywhere. Dude, get to the chopper now. The hell? Get to the chopper. I don't know what these fools talking about. I ain't going nowhere till these damn ribs done though. So you see the cut, I went from one scene to the next, kind of flowed beautifully, and it worked out, and the action never really lost its feeling. You just kind of always in the moment from one point to the next. That's what a cut is going to be used for. You want to cut between one scene to the next. Now for a fade, it's usually good for like ending. You want to end a chapter, you want to end a film, you want to just kind of like end a major point or just make a major point. That's when a fade is used. But just for, you know, science purposes, let's show you what it would look like in this exact same scene. Go for it. Yo, I don't know what's going on, man. Everything blowing up, there's legs everywhere. Dude, get to the chopper now. The hell? Get to the chopper. I don't know what these fools talking about. I ain't going nowhere till these damn ribs done though. All right, see how we kind of slowed down the pace a little bit. While it was a beautiful scene nonetheless, with the fade, it just slows it down a little bit and you don't want to have that there. So just be sparingly when you're putting your cuts and your fades in your screenplay. That's stuff like the director and the cinematographer and the editor are going to be working out anyway. So it's not always necessary. Just focus on the fade in and the fade out, the main two. Everything else in between, unless you exactly know why you're cutting or when you're cutting or what the whole purpose of it, don't even worry about it. So that's it for today's episode of Screenwriters Monday. So next week, we're actually going to be digging into, action and how to kind of plan it out. I'll use a whole episode for just that one. It won't be crazy long, but we'll just kind of dig into it just so we can get some ideas of how action works. And then we'll just keep going with the series. So like, subscribe, all that jazz. Follow me on IG also, Rod the Right One. Other than that, man, I'll see you guys next week.